Hello everyone, today is 12th of August. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Guys, in today's video, we will be taking up the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper as well as the good articles from the Indian Express explained also we will be taking up. Guys, please do support us. Please do hit the like button if you like our initiative. Now taking up the overview of the articles that we are going to take up. Now, this is the explained page, and onto the explained page, the productivity of the parliament has been talked about. We will see some important data we will be taking up here. Now, guys, into the Hindu page, here onto the page number 1 we can see that the back channel talk has been talked about. Now guys, it is all the excerpt from a book that has been released. The name of the book is the Spy Stories, and into the book it has been said that there are the talks which had happened between the national security advisor and the members of the ISI and all such kind of things, but the Indian government has denied these particular kind of charges. You don't need to go into such kind of things, guys, because with respect to the UPSC, the commission doesn't ask the question onto such kind of lines. Then guys, this particular article talks about the landslip that has happened into the Himachal where so many of the people had suffered. Then guys, here we can see that this particular article talks about the role that the Indian corporate needs to play. We will see that what has happened here. Then guys, the other articles are not very much important. Fine. Now moving to the next page. Now into the city page, guys, we can see that there are some of the interventions that have been done into the government school. We will see that what has happened here. Then guys, further moving on, so here the regional news etc has been talked. You don't need to go on to such kind of things because not very much important. Then guys, further moving on, here we can see that the healthy white paper has been talked about. Some very good things with respect to the financial situation of the states has been discussed. We will see this thing. Then guys, this particular article talks about the safe return of the children into the school. Fine, into this capacity many of the governments are opening also their schools. However guys, much of the substance is not there. Then guys, this article talks about the booster dose with respect to the COVID-19 vaccine, whether it should be given or not. However, the vaccine issue is very much evolving thing and it is very much changing. You guys don't need to go too much into the detail. Then guys, further moving, this particular article talks about the consensus that is needed to be developed onto the postgraduate medical education regulation. Then guys, further moving on, this particular article talks about the Odisha's steps that have been done into the hockey. Then this article talks about the urban job safety scheme. We will see that what has happened. Then guys, this article talks about that the Bharat Ratna, it should be given to the Major Dhyan Chand, who was a great sports person, because guys, recently the Rajiv Khel Ratna award has been named. Now guys, into this particular thing, much of a substance is again not there into the article. Then into this particular page, guys, we can see that the problem that the landslide that has happened into the Kinnaur in Himachal Pradesh and also similar kind of things have been discussed. Fine. Then moving on to the next page, here guys, we can see that again the productivity of the Lok Sabha has been talked about. We will see this. Then the into the parliament, the 127th constitutional amendment bill has been passed. We will again see this. Then this particular article talks about the new change that is coming into the Indian politics and the caste scenario. Some good insights will be seen. Then guys, further moving, here we can see that the Supreme Court has given an ultimatum to to fill the vacancies into the Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission. We will see it. Then guys, the insurance bill that we have already seen, it has been now finally cleared into the Rajya Sabha. Then moving on to the next page, so next page is a showcase, nothing very much important here. On to the world page, here we can see that the democracy summit will be organized. We will see that what has been happening here. Then guys, the Taliban, it is taking up so many of the cities that there is a US intelligence which has said that within 90 days the Kabul will be taken over by the Taliban. Such kind of things have been there. Fine. However, you don't know to see everything what every day what is happening. Then the much of the important articles are not there. Here we can see that onto the business page that government is exiting from the PSUs, and here the land monetization into the SCZ has been talked about. We will see both of these articles. Then guys, other article talking about the corporate profits etc, nothing very much important. Then there comes the sports page, and guys, this is the overview of the today's newspaper analysis, and now let's take these articles in detail one by one. Now, friends, starting up with the today's GS quote. So, today we will be taking a quote from the Margaret Atwood, the Canadian environmental activist. She says, "You don't believe the sky is falling until a chunk of it falls on you." Now, guys, into this particular quote, it has been provided that until and unless the environmental repercussions are very much visible, we don't act on it. Now, guys, into the context of climate change, since 1980s, the negotiations are going on. Even in 2015, under the Paris Climate Agreement, many of the INDC targets were also taken, but nothing has been done actually, and the manifestation we can see. For example, recently released IPCC 6th assessment report says that before the 2040, 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature increase will be visible. Recently, we have seen that the floods into the Europe were there, particularly into the Germany, which had devastated both life and property. Then, guys, the heat dome was developed into the Canada, and into this event also many of the casualties have been there. Then, into the India, we can see that the cyclones into the Arabian Sea they had started to develop, and now the cyclones into the Arabian Sea are even more intense into the Bay of Bengal. Traditionally, cyclones have been into the Bay of Bengal, but now they are emerging into the Arabian Sea also in much more quantity. So we can see that the chunk of sky is falling on us. So guys, we can utilize this particular quote into the GS paper number 3 answers related to the environment, ecology and conservation. So that is all about the today's GS quote. And now guys, let's take up the newspaper articles one by one. Now, guys, taking up the first article. So, this particular article has been taken up from the Indian Express explained section, and it will be important for our GS paper number 2 under the topic related to the issues with the functioning of the parliament. Now, guys, the monsoon session of the parliament has been concluded 2 days before, for which actually it was meant to be. Now, guys, premature ending of the parliament was there due to the unruly behavior of the opposition party, and at the same time, the ruling party was also not entertaining the discussion on many of the controversial issues. Now, guys, this particular thing calls to an important fact that what is the productivity of the parliament. Now, guys, into this particular context, some of the data are there which you can utilize into your answer. Now, according to the PRS legislative research data, it has been provided that the monsoon session of 2021 was the fourth least productive Lok Sabha session into the last 20 years, and when we talk about the Rajya Sabha was the eighth least productive session. Guys, into the Lok Sabha, just 21% productivity was there, and into the Rajya Sabha, the 28% productivity was there. Rajya Sabha performed a little bit better than the Lok Sabha, but guys, entirely this level of productivity is a cause of concern. Now, guys, it has been provided again by the PRS Legislative Research records that since 1999, the worst session in terms of productivity was the winter session of 2010 when the BJP party was into the opposition, and they actually stalled the house and they demanded a joint parliamentary committee probe into the 2G spectrum allocation case. And guys, into the 2010, the Rajya Sabha productivity was just 2% and the Lok Sabha productivity was just 6%. So 2% and 6%, these are the worst figures that have been seen in 20 years. Now, guys, when we talk about the monsoon session, though it was the disruptions was there, though there were much kind of stallings, but in terms of the passing of the bill, the government has passed large number of legislations, and into this particular direction, guys, we have seen that the discussions onto the bill have been reduced. According to the PRS data, the Lok Sabha took just 34 minutes on an average to pass a bill, and into the Rajya Sabha it took just 46 minutes to pass the bill. And there are some bills such as the Limited Liability Partnership Amendment Bill, which was passed within the 5 minutes. And however, there is only one bill, that was the OBC bill. It was discussed for more than 1 hour, and here some kind of a constructivism was seen. But guys, in totality, we can see that the bills were rushed into a hurried, and though the ruckus and the chaos was there, proper deliberation was not there. And guys, these kind of things we see later words that many a times there are such kind of loopholes into the laws that they are either abused or they are not able to serve the purpose for which they are meant, and at the end of the day only the citizens get suffered. So this kind of irresponsible behavior is never appreciated onto the part of government. Now, guys, when we talk about this particular Lok Sabha as a whole, the present Lok Sabha, there also a kind of a decline in terms of a deliberation. We can see that as a whole just 2 hours and 23 minutes on an average have been spent on a bill, and in the Rajya Sabha just around 2 hours on an average has been spent on a bill. So guys, these particular data can be used when you are talking about the productivity of the legislature. Now, guys, here we can see a graphic representation also in terms of the productivity that has been there into the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and here we can see that the 2010 was the lowest year, and however the trend is not very much encouraging. Now, guys, generally this particular thing is there that the budget sessions are near or less more productive, but even there also the productivity is going down. So that is all about this particular article. I hope you have understood it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article, it talks about the 127th constitutional amendment bill that has been cleared by both the Rajya Sabha as well as the Lok Sabha. Now friends, this particular article we will be seeing under the light of GS paper number 1, social issues, evolution of caste and politics in India, and guys, a very important insight we will be seeing here. Now, the 127 constitutional amendment bill, it talks about it basically aims to reverse back the Supreme Court judgment of 2021, where the Supreme Court said that the Maratha reservation that was given by the Maharashtra government cannot be sustained because after the 102nd constitutional amendment act, the power to identify the communities which can be included for the reservation, such power has been there only with the president. So the power is with the central government and the states cannot act. Therefore, the Maratha reservation law was held to be invalid. Now, guys, in order to reverse all such kind of thing and to again give back the power to the state government with respect to identification of the OBC communities, this particular 127th constitutional amendment bill has been brought up. And guys, here just for the first time we see that all the parties came together and unanimously they had voted into the favor of a bill. Now this particular thing has happened, and guys, yesterday also we have seen that apart from this particular bill, there were much of the demands that were raised into the parliament on two things. Number one, it was demanded that a caste census is now needed to be conducted so that we can see that what is the status of the different caste. Secondly, it was said that the 50% reservation rule that was laid by the Supreme Court into the Indira Sahani judgment, now there is needed to be an amendment that is to be made. Now these particular things might also be discussed laterwards. Now guys, by this 127th constitutional amendment bill that has been passed, we can see that the politics of caste in India might be entering into a new phase. Now guys, you might be knowing that the Mandal Commission proposed that reservation needs to be given to the OBC community, and after the Mandal Commission's recommendation in 1990, the reservation to the OBC community was given. And after that we have seen that into the India, the mandalization of the politics has been a distinct fact. Now the mandalization of politics means that guys, now the political parties, they started to use the backward communities to rally their propaganda, to rally their agenda. They have driven the OBC vote bank to for their victories. We have seen that distinctly the classes that were given the OBC status into the states such as the Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, they not only got the reservation, but guys, they were specifically also becoming the dominant classes. Now guys, they were specifically reaped, their numerical strength was reaped by the political parties. Now guys, after that we have seen that the mandalization of politics, it got a kind of a change around 2014. Now guys, before BJP, what was happening? There was the horizontal segregation of the caste, fine, which we have already seen with the coming of the with the happening of the mandalization of politics. For example, there were the Yadavs which were divided separately, there were the Kurmis which were divided separately, and therefore the horizontal segregation of caste was there. Now with the coming of the BJP, they focused more onto the vertical consolidation. Now this vertical consolidation had happened onto the name of religion, where the majority religion has been appeased more. Moreover guys, after the 2014 we have seen that across the different caste, the elites into that particular caste groups, they have been lured more. And we have seen that the BJP, they have basically attracted the upper ones in all the sections into the unreserved category, into the OBC, into the scheduled caste, etc. So guys, this was the phase 2 that came into the politics. Now guys, it has been provided that the phase 3 might be coming. What has happened? Now the political parties, they want to diversify their caste politics spectrum, and into the diversification of the caste politics spectrum, two things are being demanded. Number one, the caste based census, so that new communities which have been backward, they could be identified, and the revision of the 50% rule, so that again the new communities within the OBC group could be fitted. And then guys, the political parties will be parading these particular communities by floating the candidates from the same caste into the elections, and basically here again the leveraging of the caste politics could be happening. So guys, this is one of a trend that into which India might be entering afterwards. Now, guys, when we talk about this particular thing, the union government under the prime minister, it is into a kind of a sticky position. Why? Because number one, it has not revealed the findings of the socio-economic caste census that was done in 2011. And secondly, Justice Rohini Commission was set up to look into the subcategorization within the OBC communities for the purpose of giving them the reservation in jobs as well as into the educational institution. Now, guys, Rohini Commission has not submitted its report up till now, and 11 extensions have been given to the Rohini Commission. Now, guys, number one, SCCC not being made public, Rohini Commission not submitting the report. These two things highlight that the present government is not giving the OBC communities their due share, and this particular thing is also being leveraged by the political parties when they say that the present ruling government is not serious about the welfare of the backward communities, and these regional parties are now talking about their welfare by demanding the caste based census and by increasing the reservation limit. So, guys, these are some of the trends that are going on now. Guys, it becomes very much important for our GS paper number 1, change of, or basically the evolution of caste and politics in India. So, guys, please keep it into your mind, and now we'll be moving into the next article. Now, guys, this particular article, it talks about the two of the important steps that have been taken by the government of Delhi in order to enhance the education. Now, guys, both of them could be used as a case study when you are talking about the topic of education within the GS paper number 2, social justice. Now, guys, the case studies could be quoted. Now, what has happened? The Delhi government, Delhi Board of School Education, they had collaborated with the IB, that is the International Baccalaureate. Now, guys, the IB, it is a kind of a very premier school affiliation board, and it has collaborated with many of the governments around the world, such as with the government of America, Canada, Spain, Japan, South Korea. And in terms of schools also, it has collaborated with more than 5500 school in 159 countries. Now, guys, this IB board, it has a distinct syllabus, distinct curriculum, which is focused onto the out of box thinking, critical skills that were relevant into the 21st century, etc. So, guys, the IB board, it has been provided that it is one of the most advanced board into the world, and now the 30 schools which are being run under the government of Delhi, they will be getting the collaboration with the IB. Now, what will be the benefits of this particular collaboration? Number one, the approach to teaching and learning through the IB's globally acclaimed educational program will be reaching to the students who will be there into the government schools. Secondly, it has been provided that even that educators will be getting the benefit. It has been provided here that through the IB professional development, the educators will be unable to undertake the workshops which will be helping to reach high into their own professional goals as well as towards the development. So, guys, this particular collaboration will be providing the qualitative education to the children, as well as a teacher will also be trained. So, this is one good development that has happened. Now, guys, apart from this, there is other development also. Here, guys, we can see that the government is coming out with the resource center for the children with the special needs. Now, guys, there are the children who have the special needs. They need the facilities like the physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, behavior modification therapy. Now, guys, many of such kind of children, they are studying into the government school, and then they are not able to perform better because, guys, if they need the special assistance. So therefore 31 such resource centers are being opened, and these resource centers will be addressing the special needs of these children. So, guys, this is also one of the good initiatives that have been taken. So, guys, these particular examples we can provide as a case study. So that is all, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article, it talks about a white paper onto the financial situation that has been released by the Tamil Nadu government, and some of the very good suggestions have been given here which could be used into the context of all the states. Now, guys, this particular article is important with respect to the GS paper number 2, the issues related to the transparency as well as the federalism. Now, guys, what has happened? The Tamil Nadu government had came out with a white paper onto the fiscal situation of the state, and it is the first time that such an honest white paper onto the financial health has been revealed. So this is a kind of a laudable thing, and it is an example of transparency that has been taken up. Now, guys, into this particular capacity, the white paper has provided that when we talk about the revenues of the state, it is raised by the tax and non-tax sources. Now, guys, approximately 75% of the revenue it comes from the direct and indirect taxes. Now guys, with the coming of the GST, the state governments they don't have power with respect to raising much of the indirect taxes that were coming, so therefore they are dependent onto the union government, and into this capacity the fiscal power of the state governments had went down. And into this thing, what has happened, only very few options are available to the state government. They can raise money via the taxes onto the property, fuel, alcohol. Now already onto the fuel, the the central government it imposed the cess, and the cess money is not shared with the state government. And as higher and higher cess are being imposed, already the price of fuel is very much high, and therefore additional taxes cannot be imposed without inviting the hue and cry from the public. So therefore the property tax is realistically a very important avenue to raise the revenue. But this property tax has not traditionally been utilized by the governments around the India, and therefore this white paper gives a recommendation to the Tamil Nadu government that they need to use the property tax, because number one, property tax is very much fair. It is progressive and fair because it is imposed onto the rich people. Further, it has been provided that the chief economic advisor Arvind Subramaniam, who wrote the economic survey of 2016 and 17, he had also suggested that the property taxes are needed to be collected, and there are many of the innovative techniques such as the satellite imaging that can be used to measure the built up areas of buildings into the city. And by this particular thing, the cities such as Chennai, they can collect 4 to 7 times more of the property tax what is being collected today, and this particular revenue can be used particularly to help the state into the times of the pandemic. Then further, this particular white paper has also suggested that the powers needed to be given to the local bodies with respect to the revenues. Into this thing, the Kerala model has been appreciated. Into the Kerala model, we have seen that though now high number of cases are there, but the handling of disasters and social welfare has been good. We can see that the Kerala government has given the highest allocation of expenditure to the local body councils among all the states of India. And why the social welfare is good? Only because of the high power that has been given to the local bodies. Now, the Tamil Nadu, it ranks second in enabling the local governments, giving them the additional resources. Now, more are to be given, it has been suggested. Further, guys, it has been said that the white paper, it raises the concern that now large amounts of monies is being wasted onto the subsidies that are onto the power, water, transportation. So the money onto these subsidies is needed to be reduced. Then the inequalities has been increased due to the COVID-19 pandemic. People are suffering more. So in order to reduce the inequality, some of the efforts are to be taken. And then guys, the higher public investment into the infrastructure, it has been time tested. But how to do the public investment into the infrastructure, it is also a problem because of the paucity of the resources. So therefore guys, it has been said that the property tax could be a very important thing that is now needed to be used. Now further guys, it has been provided that the COVID-19 crisis, it calls that the government spending needs to be there so that we can achieve a Keynesian multiplier. Now the Keynesian multiplier, it states that the more the economy will flourish if the more the government will spend. So government will spend more, the more economy will flourish, and for spending we need the resources, and the resources can be coming into the state government by utilizing the property tax. So this particular suggestion has been given here. Moreover, it has been provided that there is also a need that the GST needs to be reformed so that much more revenue sharing with the states could happen. Now guys, here a very good expression to the GST has been used into the article. The article says that the case for the GST to continue seems similar to the Churchillian case of democracy. Now guys, how Winston Churchill defined the democracy, he said that a democracy is the worst form of government except for all other forms. So into this same way, it has been said that the GST is the worst form of the taxation except the other forms of taxation. It means that though it is not good, but it has to be carried, so carry it into a reformed manner. So guys, these are some of the things which are there. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article taken from the Hindu newspaper, it talks about the need of a urban job safety net into the India, and it will be important under the GS paper number 2, issues related to the poverty, as well as under the GS paper number 3, the economic reforms. Now guys, it has been provided first of all that recently we have seen even our in newspaper analysis also that the world economic outlook report was announced by the IMF, and into this particular report it has said that the global GDP has been shrunk by 3.3%. Indian GDP had been one of the worst impacted, and 8% contraction is there into the India's GDP. The China is the only country into the world which have seen a positive growth of 2.3%. now guys, more than 95 million people they have been entered into the extreme poor category, so the people have been impacted a lot. And into this thing in India also, in unemployment has increased, inequality, poverty are increasing. Now guys, into the rural areas we have a scheme which can minimize the livelihood losses, that is the MG Narega. But into the urban area we don't have such kind of scheme or such kind of cushion. Now into the urban areas guys, though the government is running the National Urban Livelihood Mission, but it is focused more onto generating the self-employment through the skill upgradation. The credit linkages are given. However guys, a guaranteed wage program onto the lines of MG Narega is not there into the urban areas. Now guys, when we talk about the pattern of migration into the India, experts had said that India has a distinct pattern of migration from the rural areas to the urban areas. But for the first time into the pandemic, the migration from urban areas to the rural areas into the substantial quantity was seen. Why this particular thing? The reason was this, that into the rural areas there was a safety cushion into the form of the MG Narega, and it had attracted the population. However, if such kind of cushion into the urban areas would also have been there, then the such devastating reverse migration would not have happened. So therefore now the government needs to think very seriously onto the urban MG Narega component. Into this particular direction, some of the state governments have taken some initiatives also, and here the Himachal Pradesh government has taken an initiative named as Mukhya Mantri Shahari Ajivika Guarantee Yojana. Now into this particular thing, the livelihood guarantee was given to the people into the urban areas. It was provided that 120 days of guaranteed wage employment to every household will be provided at the minimum wage into the financial year 2020-2021. Now at this particular time there was many of the suspicion also come. It was said that into the pandemic how the states will be arranging the resources to fund this particular urban wage guarantee scheme. So government it decided that to fund the wage component they will use the grants that are already available to the urban local bodies under the state and central finance commission grants that had come. And into this particular thing they had started the scheme, and they had actually generated a 250,000 man days, and 3% of the total urban households into the Himachal Pradesh they have gotten the benefit. So basically the Himachal Pradesh teaches us the four important lessons. The lesson number one, that such urban livelihood scheme it can be launched and it could be supported within the existing fiscal space. You don't need much of the new resources. Secondly, it has been provided that a minimum wage for the rural and urban areas do not cause migration to the urban areas. Always it is a fear that if in urban areas there will be a kind of a wage guarantee, then all the people from the rural area they will come to the urban area and much urbanization will be there. But that is not completely true, because into the urban areas there is also the higher cost of living, fine, which is also to be sustained. So therefore into the urban areas we need to start such a kind of a scheme. Then guys, thirdly it has been provided that the focus of the government should shift from asset creation to the service delivery. Now into the rural areas the asset creation has been there in terms of infrastructure, but into the urban areas we need to enhance the quality of service. So within the category of municipal services such urban jobs could be given. And then guys, fourthly it has been provided that providing such kind of a urban employment scheme will be like an economic vaccine which will protect the people against the unemployment, and it needs to be administered at the national level rather than the state level. Rather than the one government doing it, all the governments need to do it. Such kind of thing has been suggested. So guys, a very good and a wonderful article and good suggestions have been given. Please do utilize. And now we will be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article here we have actually clubbed the two articles, and both of them are talking on one of the theme, that is mobilization of the resources. And guys, the mobilization of resources has been mentioned into our GS paper number 3. So with respect to the GS3, it is an important thing. Now guys, first of all, taking up some of the background, now we have entered a phase of liberalization after the 1991 reforms, and the role of the state has also changed. Now the role has been changed from rowing to steering. Now the rowing means that when the state actually and very directly participated into the economy. Now more of a role with respect to the supervision is there with the coming of the reforms. However, guys, still government is holding the stake into many of the PSUs. Many of the areas are still reserved for the government, and this particular thing is to be changed, mainly for the two reasons. Reason number one, that when government will come out from the PSUs, from the space in which now private could enter, government can focus more onto the governance. Second, it has been provided that by coming out from these ventures, government will also generate much of the money, much of the revenue, and that particular revenue can be used for other national priorities. Fine. So guys, therefore into this particular line, we can see that now government is pursuing the plan of asset monetization. Asset monetization means that the government is selling its stake into the PSUs. Government is privatizing much of the ventures where the private sector can enter. The entities such as the Air India also, they are being privatized because they are causing much of the revenue burden onto the government. So guys, this particular article number 1, it talks that government will completely exist the erstwhile PSUs. Now it has been provided, guys, that there are some of the PSUs, for example, the Paradeep Phosphates, Hindustan Zinc, Balco. These were privatized way back in 2002, but still there are some of the stakes which have been left, and all these stakes will now be completely been sold by the government under their disinvestment program. You don't need to see that into which PSU how many stake, how much stake is there, but the bottom line is that the complete exit from the erstwhile PSUs will be done. Moreover, guys, it has been provided that government is going forward to sell the stake into the Container Corporation of India also. Moreover, the privatization of Air India, BPCL, Shipping Corporation of India, BEML, Pavan Hans, Neelanchal Ispat Nigam Limited will also be done. Fine. So this particular thing will help in generating the resources, and this is the way where the assets are being monetized. Moreover, second article here, guys, we can see that in terms of using the resources for the optimum utilization, government is also proposing the land monetization. Now guys, the Niti Aayog has provided that government is having such lucrative land parcels in many of the prime locations, but these land parcels have not been used. Evidently government needs to dispose them off at the competitive prices, and this land monetization will also be giving much of the revenue to the government. Now guys, the central government has provided that there are so much of the land that is lying vacant into the SEZ. Now the SEZ stands for the special economic zones, and government created these special economic zones in order to promote the exports in India. Fine. So guys, many of these SEZs are there, and more than 250 SEZs, they are having the vacant land. It has been provided that, guys, approximately 10 crore square feet of space is lying idle into these 250 SEZ, and if we calculate the monetary value of this particular space, it will be nearly 30,000 crore rupees. So therefore center will soon sell this particular land and will basically go for the land monetization, and 30,000 crore rupees will be monetized from this particular step. So guys, these are some of the steps that the government is taking, and into this particular direction, if a question comes in GS paper number 3, you can use it. So that is all, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article, it talks about the summit for democracy that will be held into the month of December, and there will be the three themes for the summit of democracy. Number one theme will be the defending against authoritarianism, fighting corruption, and promoting respect for the human rights. Now guys, what is this summit for democracy? It is nothing but a platform where the USA is appealing that the like-minded countries need to come together, and basically it is a kind of a framework to counter the Chinese influence which is growing. So the Quad, the Summit for Democracy, all are into the same direction. Now guys, into this Summit for Democracy, the people from the different walks will be coming together. The head of the state, civil society, philanthropy organization, private sector, they will be coming together, and they will see that how these three things could be addressed. So guys, this is what will be happening, and once it will be conducted into the month of December, we will see. So up till now, no much information apart from this is there. So guys, that is all what has happened, and nothing is more important than this into this entire article. And now we'll be moving into the next article. Now, guys, into this particular article, we can see that the Supreme Court it has lashed out onto the governments both at the level of the center as well as state, because guys, the government they had not filled the vacancies into the Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission. Now, the Consumer Dispute Redressal Commissions they are the specialized tribunals which will look into the grievances, the problems that the consumers face. And guys, in 2019 also there was an amendment into the Consumer Protection Act of 2019 which also emphasized the role of the tribunals in educating the problems that the consumers had faced. But guys, all most of the state governments they had not filled the vacancies into these commissions. So therefore now the 8 weeks of time has been given to both the center and the state government that they need to fill the vacancies into the Dispute Redressal Commission. Moreover, it has also been provided by the Supreme Court that within a time bound manner, the center needs to conduct a comprehensive legislative impact study onto the Consumer Protection Act of 2019, to what degree it had benefited the consumer, it has to be provided. Now, guys, the Supreme Court has expressed a kind of a very much discontent. For example, the word that has been used by Supreme Court, you can see that is there some muhurat required for taking steps. So guys, nowadays we see that the judiciary is coming out very heavily onto the center because of the center's inactiveness on many of the important matters. The Supreme Court had said that at the end of the day the poor consumers they are suffering because of the inaction. So guys, this particular thing has been done. Now guys, over the past few days we see such kind of behavior from the judiciary which could easily be called as an act of judicial activism, and if it we see it into a more critical line, we can also call it as an example of judicial overreach. However, whether this particular judicial overreach or activism is needed or not, it is a debatable matter. Sometimes it could be suggested that such kind of judicial activism is good and it is needed in order to address the plight of the citizens because of the inactivity by the hand of the center is there. So then there it is justified by, but sometimes when the over encroachment is there, it is not justified because it will be going against the theory of separation of power that was suggested by the French philosopher Montesquieu, and which happens to be the fundamental base of a democracy. So this is all about this particular article. I hope you have understood it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article it talks about one of the conference where the Prime Minister Modi has addressed basically the Confederation of Indian Industry. Its meet was there, and into this CII meet, the Prime Minister had appealed that the Indian corporation they need to increase the risk appetite, and the risk appetite they needs to increase means they need to invest more into the research and development, into the emerging areas. They need to invest into coming out with such kind of technologies which can solve the problem of the people, and into this way automatically the corporates will also be getting the benefit. Fine, so this is all has been provided. Now the Prime Minister had also said that the attitude of the people also changing. Earlier people used to prefer the imported goods, but now the India made goods are more being preferred. So into this capacity much of the opportunities is there with the corporates, and they need to understand it. Now guys, into this particular thing nothing much more important is there. However, a five pronged approach is there which has been suggested by one of a corporate leader. It has been said that the corporates they need to work on augmenting the design and innovation capability. Secondly, it has been provided that they need to establish end to end value chains so that much more value enhancement could be there. Thirdly, it has been said that the participation in global agendas for climate action also needs to be a priority for the corporates. Fourthly, it has been provided that the cost of doing business is needed to be reduced, and this particular thing needs to be done by the government. And fifthly, it has been provided that more focus is needed to be given on to the indigenous research, innovation, and the intellectual property rights. More of them needs to be filed, research is to be done. So guys, this is all what has happened here. However, nothing much more important than this, and just that is what you need to see. So guys, that is all about the today's newspaper analysis. Guys, I hope that you are understanding and you are liking our initiative. Please do hit the like button and please do spread our initiative. Thank you so much.